What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an alright day today because Bitcoin is actually falling. It fell below 20,000, it fell below 19,000, and currently right now we're sitting at around 18,800 at the time of making this video. But is Bitcoin set to go lower? Now, in all fairness, we do have the S&P having a bad day today as well. You can see that the candles have been red for 4 consecutive days in traditional stocks, and unfortunately, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and the stocks are still kind of all acting together. They haven't decoupled yet. But you see over here, for example, Bitcoin balances on exchanges at 3-year low, spelling bullish sentiment for Bitcoin, right? And this is what I want to talk about super quick because this is supposed to be bullish, but we're seeing the price fall. Now, they say that usually if they're taking, Bitcoin off exchanges, that's bullish because, investors are going to put it into cold storage and they're not looking to sell it. But there's something happening right now, guys, that we need to talk about because it could be getting so much worse for these funds, for these custodians, these VCs. We've seen a lot of heat, and the Terra Luna collapse really triggered a cascade, a waterfall, a liquidation event, a deleveraging event like we have never seen before. And although this isn't an emergency type video, I think it's very, very important that we go over these topics right now, guys. So if that sounds good to you, you know what to do. If you're not subscribed, definitely consider it. Let's try to get through these charts super quick. So what you can see ultimately is we were held down by that short-term resistance, but look at this. If you take this wick that we had right during that Terra Luna collapse and we follow it down, you can see here we have this level as well. And look, as we drag this down, what happened right here, guys? Look, we had resistance, came down, tried to break it, and came down again. And this is why I've been saying we are in a downtrend, and you have to kind of flip the chart upside down. And whereas you would normally be longing the supports, these resistances are really providing those opportunities for shorting. And like I said, you don't have to be shorting these markets right now, but we are in a downtrend, and these resistances are going to be very, very powerful moving forward, right? So I do believe that there is going to be, and there is right now even, a massive opportunity for potential accumulation, but it doesn't mean that the down move is over just yet, right? We could see right here, this is the larger down move, and this heart line, this center area right here, you could see is actually providing a little bit of support. But the only problem is there's really not much between the level that we're at right now, because if we take this cluster back here, okay, and we look at this resistance and this support that we had back here, that level brings us all the way down to about $16,200. And that's not impossible to see Bitcoin go down to those levels. Now, will we go down to those levels exactly? Well, in normal situations, you would say no, we would probably be finding some support, but there is something more sinister hiding in the background. And I'm going to get to that in just a minute, but ultimately you could see we need to get back above this 200 weekly, which is currently at around $22,460. So if we don't even minimally get above that level, then you can't even start to really look at this in a bullish lens, right? Having a look right here, also, we're being held down, or actually not held down, we're actually hanging on by a thread on this legacy support right here. And if we lose that spider line, that's very bad for the overall structure of Bitcoin, right? Essentially. But I mean, when you look at how many red candles we've had, some people, and I was around obviously in the 2018 crash and all the other crashes, 2017, whatever, but this is actually a little bit worse if you look at it based on the actual money. Now, percentage-wise, no, we're not down to the 85% level yet. But if you consider just the amount that we've lost, going from almost $70,000, $68,000 down to $18,000. I mean, guys, that is a lot of money, right? That's a $50,000 drop, essentially, from 68 to 18. So that's actually a bigger drop as far as the amount of capital that we've ever really seen for Bitcoin. Some of the most oversold conditions, right? Well, why is this happening? This ties in to the whole Celsius Terra Luna situation. And the big one right now is Three Arrows Capital. So Three Arrows Capital, they say, is in deep trouble as a court has ordered for their liquidation. So understand, when you're talking about guys that have, millions, even billions potentially in assets under management, and then they get margin called, or in this case, they're being ordered for their liquidation because they can't repay their loans, this means that this Bitcoin is going to be sold on the markets, right? Now, these deleveraging events are scary for the average consumer, the average investor, right? Like you and I, but you have to understand that this is a necessary cleanse in order for these markets to be able to recover. You want to flush this type of situation out of the markets. You don't want these guys doing this again, right? You can't do stuff like this, or you shouldn't do stuff this legally. I mean, even though banks do fractional reserve lending, they're not like gambling in the background, or at least we don't think they are, with their funds, right? With their customers' funds, which is why you guys need to get your crypto off the exchanges right now and get it onto a ledger, because if some of these guys go insolvent, and now there's rumors coming out. These are rumors, so I don't want to spread FUD, but I'm hearing from some people that I respect in the space telling me that there are some exchanges that we haven't even heard of yet that could potentially be going insolvent. Some of these lower tier exchanges, not like Binance or FTX, but some of these lower guys, you guys know those shadier exchanges that we might trade on once in a while. So we have to be careful. And making matters worse, Three Arrows Capital has provided false information about exceeding their assets under management. So according to the Monetary Authority of Singapore, they said that they've reprimanded Three Arrows Capital. The central bank alleged that the crypto hedge fund provided misleading information and also surpassed the asset under management threshold permitted for a registered fund management company. Now, it had been significantly invested in a number of troubled projects, including Terra. So these guys were a big investor in Terra. They were holding a lot of Terra Luna. Maybe they even had UST on the balance sheet. I'm sure they did. And we saw what happened to that. So, that lost 99%. And if these guys had multiple millions or billions of dollars, now they've completely lost those funds. Let's say they're trading, they're using leverage, which they shouldn't be doing this if they're supposed to be like, custodying your Bitcoin, but hey, whatever the Wild West wants to do. And now they're getting margin called, they're getting forced into liquidation, and this is adding more selling pressure. They revealed that now they're going to actually investigate if 3AC was involved in any further breaches, and crypto broker Voyager Digital also issued a default notice after 3AC, Three Arrows Capital, failed to make payments on a loan of 15,250 Bitcoin. That's a lot of Bitcoin. And also $350 million worth of USDC. And to make matters worse, and I know I don't enjoy reporting the bad news, but I want you guys to understand what is going on in the background right now. So Celsius has still not allowed customers to withdraw their funds, and also we're hearing facts that they might be insolvent. Well, FTX says that they were interested in making a deal with Celsius, but they ended up walking away because of the state of their finances. Now, this was according to two unnamed sources, but they spoke with the block, and they said that Celsius had about $2 billion, or a $2 billion hole, I should say, in its balance sheet. So this is the ultimate sort of meltdown that you would expect in a situation like this. And it sucks to go through, especially when it's just, like the average Joe, right? But talking about some other things that are happening right now, you can even see that Goldman Sachs has actually switched and downgraded their opinion on Coinbase to a sell, essentially saying that, if crypto continues to get worse, then this is probably going to go down. And it fell 10% after they downgraded it to a sell on their rating system, right? So it's definitely looking scary. And it's not only scaring just the average person and also these hedge funds, but you're also seeing the SEC come out and, talk about the fact that Gary Gensler, for example, he was on CNBC and he was talking about many of the financial assets, crypto financial assets. They have key attributes of a security. So some of them, they're under the SEC. And, for example, he says Bitcoin, my predecessors and others have said that they are commodities. But, obviously the altcoins are scaring people. Bitcoin is falling, which in turn crashes the altcoins as well. And, then we still have to deal with the inflation issue. So this is kind of beating a dead horse, but what are you going to do? It's still here. It's still happening. Now, we know what Jerome Powell is doing. He's convinced. He says it's going to get back to 2% inflation. We're going to sustain a strong labor market. We believe we can do that. That's our aim. Then he ends it by saying there's no guarantee we can do that. So he literally goes on and says he's going to do all these things and then ends it by saying there's no guarantee we could do that. And Christine Lagarde came out, head of the European Central Bank, and she said, I don't think we're going back to a period of low inflation. So this could be a problem. They're raising these rates, maybe not fast enough, some people would say. And then on top of it, they may not even be able to fight the inflation. And what happens if we get stagflation and then unemployment starts going up, right? So he also went on, Jerome Powell, to reaffirm the Fed's commitment to raising interest rates in order to reduce inflation. He stated that during the ECB meeting that the challenge of inflation was more concerning to him than the potential for rising interest rates to cause the U.S. economy to enter a recession. So he's more concerned about inflation than a recession, which means if he had to pick one or the other, he would go with a recession. He says, I think there's a risk we could go too far. Possibly, certainly, of course there's a risk. The bigger mistake to make, let's put it that way, would be to fail to restore price stability. He argued that the Fed needs to quickly raise rates because a gradual hike may give consumers the impression that increased commodity prices would not go away. He said that rate increases might be lessened potentially before the next year. Once again, this leads into why I was saying the end of this year, Q4, sometime November, December, I think we could see them potentially maybe start to ease up. But if these inflation numbers continue to get higher and higher, then according to this guy, he's going to keep laying down the hammer. And let's be honest, he doesn't want to go down in history as the money printing Burr meme, right? He wants to, reclaim his sort of credibility, if you want to say that. But I actually want to give a shout out to Thomas over at Team Underground. He had a really cool analogy of sort of what's going on and what's been going on. And really what it's like, and this is in his words, but I liked his analogy, is that it's almost like a drug addict, right? Like imagine someone addicted to, it could be something like alcohol or cigarettes or something, but imagine it was like, a worse drug. I don't really want to say drugs on this show. I don't want to get, demonetized, but imagine a very bad drug you could take. And, imagine that drug is money, right? And in this sense, we had massive inflation, 40% of all the dollars being printed, right? Stimulus checks coming out, right? So you're getting your hit. Oh, it feels good. And then boom, we just cut off the supply, not only cut off the supply, but now we start raising the rates. Now, you've been high off of that supply and all of a sudden, what happened? Well, now you're in withdrawal, right? You're shaking, you're angry, and, in some cases, people die from withdrawal from serious conditions, and that's kind of what they did to the market. They went from two extremes way too fast. So on top of having this pressure, we also have the regulatory pressure. We also have the pressure coming from guys like Three Arrow Capital and Voyager and Celsius and the Terra Luna situation, which has exacerbated the selling in the space, and it really just kind of culminates as this sort of hurricane of madness, right? So that is essentially what's going on. And I did just want to end super quick on Bitcoin improvement proposal because this is still news. So Bit Proposal 324 is saying that it would add HTTPS-like security to Bitcoin. Specifically, the proposal formalizes a way to prevent private metadata from leaking with regular Bitcoin transactions. If adopted, Bit 324 could improve privacy for millions of people. Now, this isn't making it a privacy coin, right? It's that because you don't really want to do that because remember when Litecoin integrated Mimblewimble, we actually saw some exchanges taking them off, delisting them because they were like, oh, well, the regulators, they're not going to like this type of privacy coin. It's not turning Bitcoin into a privacy coin. It's just going to increase the security for you as an individual. For example, they say eavesdroppers can identify counterparties, detect connections, and even tamper with certain bytes of a connection, such as node flags. So to seal these leaky connections and introduce authenticated connections to Bitcoin, this proposal promises to protect users from man-in-the-middle attacks, right? So we know Bitcoin is not anonymous, it's pseudo-anonymous, right? You could still trace wallets, you could still see what's going on, but this is just going to help with the security if you're using some websites that could have some data that, I don't know, through cookies or some kind of tracer, I don't know what they would use, but could kind of figure out who you were, right? So I hope that this goes through. It sounds like it could be a good upgrade for Bitcoin. But ultimately, like I said, if we go back here and we have a look at this chart, you really want to find that support because we actually do have two potential supports right here, right? We have the Heartline support and we also have the support right here. So hopefully we do have a bounce, although hoping and praying for something isn't going to change what's happening. The charts are just saying that, if we do fall down to this level, we could go down to that $16,000 level. To be honest with you, there actually is some support down around the 17,500, but I mean, that's, we bounced there once. How long are we going to keep bouncing there? It could form a new floor. It's possible. But, the bigger support, in my opinion, is down around 16,200. So hopefully we don't get down to that level. But at the same time, if getting down to that level means the deleveraging, means the flushing out of all of these bad actors in the space, and the space can return, to somewhat, normalness, essentially, then I think that'd be good. And final note, again, just please, guys, I recommend if you are not trading Bitcoin, you are not in an active trade, then there's really no reason to have your crypto on exchanges. Get a MetaMask if you want ERC20 tokens, or just get a Ledger Nano S, put it in cold storage if you're going to hold. If you are going to sell, okay, fine, but don't put more on an exchange that you're willing to potentially have them lock up and never return to you, okay? So that's the point I'm trying to say. Friendly reminder, check out the links below in the description. I do have a link for Ledger, all different kinds if you want, and if you guys do want to learn how to trade, there are opportunities right now. Like I said, there's been a lot of opportunities to short the resistance. It's a little weird shorting Bitcoin. I don't like doing it because it kind of feels like going against everything I believe in. But if at the end of the day you can accumulate more Bitcoin in a safe manner, although some people go way too high on leverage, but if you do want to learn how to do that, guys, I do have multiple tutorials on this channel. Check them out, popping up right here, right now. My name's K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.